My name is Nelda Spell Mitchell. I have 2 books here titled Have I Told Y'all This? It's just one big book divided into 2, Volume 1 and Volume 2, of stories of my life, my husband, Dennis Mitchell, both of us when we were young and growing up and after our lives together, and some of the stories we were just told about. But they're what we talk about when we had a spare minute to sit in the swing under the shade tree. Now, if you want to get these books, just check with Mr. Amazon, and he will send them right to your front door. And they make wonderful gifts to give somebody you don't know what in the world to give them. And you give them this set of books. You have to get both of them to get all the stories. But they are a wonderful gift. People love them. And then I want you to listen to my grandson talking on YouTube also. I'm reading my stories. My grandson takes pictures of when he's working with his cattle. And he calls his post Big South Ranching. And you click on the Big South Ranching and you'll see Weston, what he's doing with his cows, different activities. It's just little short videos of things he's doing. And these stories are mostly short. And that will give you something else to listen to on YouTube. Now today I'm going to read you a story about blowing up stumps with dynamite. Now before I read it, I'm going to show you this big picture right there. You see that man standing by these tall pine trees? Well, that's how it looked when the Indians were here and when the first white settlers moved into here to settle this land. Well, white and black settlers came in here and settled the land, and it was covered. The hills were covered in pine trees all the way from East Texas to Georgia, strip across all Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and East Texas. And since these pines were original, they were here when the first settlers came, they named them virgin pines, meaning they had never been cut. Now, when the first settlers came, they would cut out and clean up the stumps of some of the trees big enough to build a small field so they could farm. And it was real hard work. Then in the early 1900s, big sawmills moved into the South from up in the northern states, and they clear cut all those beautiful pine trees, except 5 acres. My grandfather reserved 5 acres that he did not let them cut. And through the years' time and storms, whatever, has taken those trees. In this past year, the last one of those virgin pines on my grandfather's place hit the ground. Now, every tree left a stump. And to clear the land out, you had to get rid of the stumps. And this is what I'm going to read to you about. This is what my father-in-law did, Mr. Bury Mitchell. His name was spelled B-U-R-A, but everybody pronounced it Bury. Well, blowing up pine stumps with dynamite. That's what Mr. Bury did, and a lot of other people in our area. After the virgin pine timber was cut in the early 1900s, there was a stump for each tree left in the ground. Each stump would be as big across the top as the tree had been, about 24 inches to 36 inches in diameter or larger, and the roots extended out about 10 feet. Pine trees have a central tap root that extends 5 to 6 feet in the ground, with small roots extending outward all around the tap root. Landowners who wanted to clear out the stumps and make a field had a big job. Most people had very few tools to work with, and it was mostly mule-powered or hand tools. It would be years before bulldozers and track hoes were available to small farmers. Therefore, dynamite was the tool of choice. First, it was necessary to take a round, pointed shovel and remove as much dirt as possible. Then, at 24-inch intervals, dig a small hole with a roaching bar 18 inches to 2 feet deep at a 45-degree angle toward the center of the stump, getting under the stump as far as possible. Then drop a stick of dynamite in each hole. Dennis said that before the last stick was put in the hole, a cap had been put on the end of the fuse, and the cap was poked into the stick of dynamite. He said that usually the worker crimped the cap onto the fuse with his teeth because it was quicker than carrying a pair of pliers to the job, and the caps were made of copper, so they were soft enough to bite. The fuse looked like a solid drinking straw that was flexible. The fuses were filled with gunpowder. The fuses were not pre-cut to lengths. They came in one long row. The person using them cut off as much as he wanted for each stick of dynamite. The caps looked like a 22 bullet hull that was about 2 inches long. There was an explosive packed deep inside each one. So after the fuse was capped, it was inserted into the stick of dynamite about 2 inches. The sticks were placed as deep in the holes around the stump as possible. Also, a hole was drilled in the center of the stump with a special hand-held drill that had a bit that was a little larger than the dynamite sticks, and a stick was placed in that hole. Some of the time it was very large stumps. Then one fuse was lit with a match, and the person doing that ran away the length of a football field. It would take about a minute for the fuse to burn down to the explosion part. Then it would blow up, and the shock waves around the dirt caused the other sticks of dynamite to blow up almost instantly, and the stump and dirt would fly into the air, falling all around. The reason for drilling down through the center of the stump was to break off the main top of the stump from the tap root, leaving most of the tap root in the ground, which was deeper than most plows would reach. But nowadays, since we have deep slicing chisel plows, frequently an old tap root will be plowed up. Now, we wanted to tell you that roaching bar, they would dig the holes with a roaching bar. It was just a long stick made out of steel, and it looked like a broomstick that had a point on one end, and you would take it and pull it up and just job it in the ground to make your holes. And I'm going to show you another picture of a load of stumps. Now these stumps had been blown up with dynamite. And they're on the truck. You can see that truck got to the train station. It even bogged down. And the men are unloading on the train cars. Now the train cars would carry the stumps to Hattiesburg. There was a plant there called Hercules. And at the Hercules plant, they would cook those stumps and get the pine tar out of them. And then it was made into different products.